Hey Trailblazers, welcome back to another episode. I'm not a CSL Trailblazer. Let's make something happen, build that momentum. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking to you about one of my favorite proverbs, if not my favorite. Every cloud has a silver lining. And I got some ideas for you teachers out there that you might want to use for encouraging speaking on this proverb, but I'll get into it right after this message. So see you in a moment. Welcome back, Trailblazers. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Remember, before I tell you about Every Cloud Has a Silver Lining, you can subscribe to the Freshen Up Fridays newsletter that comes out every other week on Fridays, obviously, where I have a teaching blog with more ideas for you teachers out there of ESL, as well as videos that complement these and lesson ideas and teaching tips, as well as the favorite on the newsletter, which is student insights that I get from my students. So you can sign up for that. The link is in the notes or the comments of this episode and every episode. So let's get right into it. Every cloud has a silver lining. I love it. This is very true for me. I am a very optimistic person and I like to look at the bright side of life. So, you know what it means. You can Google it. You don't need me for it. But just to make sure, no matter how bad a situation, there is always a good aspect that may not be apparent at first. Okay? And that is the silver lining. So, you don't get that job that you were really hoping for. You get dumped. You're getting divorced. Or the relation or some other big crisis in your life happens. Maybe you have a meltdown, a breakdown, whatever. There can be so many things. Tragedy can strike. Obviously, that is horrible. But also, we might experience failure. And does society accept failure? That's something that you can talk about with your students briefly without going too deep. But from this proverb, you can get some insight and feedback from your students, okay? Because maybe from failure, when we're down and out and we feel terrible, maybe there's a bright side to it. Maybe there's a silver lining, okay? So you can put the proverb up there and get students to think about how acceptable is failure to them. Is this proverb true for them? Are they naturally optimistic? Or maybe they're pessimistic when bad things occur? Yeah? Are they looking at opportunities when failure occurs? How does society teach us to accept or reject failure? And all of this stuff is very interesting for your students to discuss, and I think you can bring it down even to the intermediate level and then way up to proficiency. It can get as in-depth as possible, but you can get the feedback afterwards and talk about it a little bit, because depending on the culture of your students, especially if it's an intercultural class, you might get some very interesting ideas, and discussing both sides of this is worthwhile because, you know, we're going to be naturally pessimistic sometimes and optimistic other times. Some might be more prone to being one or the other. Nice vocabulary word that comes out of that. Plenty of vocabulary can come up in your discussion with your students. Again, you can use it as an intro to a lesson about success and failure in life and business, or towards the end after a grammar point to give your students a break. So that is my proverb. Every cloud has a silver lining. If you've had a bad class, don't worry about it. There's a learning experience in there to remember for next time to improve or get better as a teacher. And we can't always be at our best. That's something worth remembering for you teachers out there. I'm not a CSL Trailblazer. You have a great week, teachers. Make something happen. Build that momentum. Remember, you can follow on all the social media, especially Facebook. And this channel you can subscribe to. Please share it with anybody who you think might find it valuable. Language learners, you might like some of this stuff too. I'll see you next week for another episode. Go get 'em. Take care.